Philadelphia, the cradle of American independence, a city of history, culture, and revolutionary spirit. Beneath its brick streets and colonial landmarks lies something far darker. A city where the past refuses to rest, where restless spirits walk the halls of forgotten institutions, and tragedy echoes through every shadow. Tonight, you're about to venture into the 5 most haunted locations Philadelphia has to offer. These aren't urban legends or campfire stories. These are places where visitors have encountered unexplainable phenomena, where documented paranormal activity continues to this day. But be warned, some of these stories are so deeply unsettling, you may never look at Philadelphia's historic charm the same way again. Are you ready? Then let's begin our descent into darkness. 1. Eastern State Penitentiary. A monument to American justice, or so it seemed. Opened in 1829, this revolutionary prison housed thousands of inmates over nearly 2 centuries. But behind those imposing stone walls, something sinister took root. Executions, murders, suicides, madness. More than 1,000 souls perished within these confines. The air inside grows cold. Visitors report hearing footsteps echoing down cell blocks that have been empty for decades. They hear the distant clanging of cell doors slamming shut, though nobody touched them. In the death row wing, the temperature drops so severely that breath becomes visible, even in summer. But the most chilling accounts come from the isolation cells. One paranormal investigator spent a night in cell block 13 and reported seeing a figure, a man in tattered prison garb, materialize before her eyes. His face was twisted in anguish. When she reached out, he vanished. Another visitor claimed they felt invisible hands grab their shoulders in the cafeteria, pulling them backward with tremendous force. Security guards refuse to work certain sections alone. They say the spirits here aren't at rest. They're still suffering. To this day, tours through Eastern State are frequently interrupted by unexplained cold spots, disembodied voices, and the overwhelming sensation that you are being watched by something that died centuries ago. 2. Mount Pleasant Mansion, where affluence couldn't protect against tragedy. Built in 1761, this elegant Georgian estate once represented the height of Philadelphia's colonial wealth. But in 1843, something catastrophic happened within its walls. A servant girl named Ariana discovered she was pregnant. Desperate and ashamed, she took her own life in the mansion's attic, hanging herself from the rafters. Visitors to Mount Pleasant report an overwhelming sense of sadness pressing down upon them the moment they enter. The air feels heavy, suffocating. Docents have described children's voices calling out from empty rooms, but the attic is where the presence is strongest. Multiple visitors have reported seeing the apparition of a young woman in a white dress standing by the attic window, her face pale and sorrowful. Some say they felt a sudden, inexplicable urge to look upward, compelled to gaze at the very rafters where her body was found. One paranormal team recorded an EVP session in the attic where a woman's voice, barely audible, whispered the words, "I'm still here." The recording was played for guests dozens of times. No one could explain its origin. To this day, the attic remains one of Philadelphia's most disturbing paranormal hotspots. Staff members avoid being there alone. Visitors often flee before completing their tours, overwhelmed by the profound despair that radiates from those wooden beams. 3. Pennhurst Asylum. A place that was supposed to heal, but only created more suffering. Opened in 1908, Pennhurst was designed as a sanctuary for those with developmental disabilities. Instead, it became a nightmare. Overcrowding, neglect, abuse. By the 1970s, investigations revealed patients living in squalor, chained to radiators, dying from preventable illnesses. Hundreds of bodies were never claimed. They were buried in unmarked graves on the asylum's grounds. When you walk through Pennhurst's decaying corridors, the weight of all that suffering hits you immediately. Visitors report seeing shadows moving through hallways at incredible speeds. Doors open and close on their own, as if invisible hands are still performing their daily routines. In the hydrotherapy ward, the water spigots turn on by themselves. The sound of screaming, distant and anguished, echoes from empty treatment rooms. But the most disturbing encounters happen in the basement morgue. One paranormal team documented the sound of a child crying, a desperate, mournful wailing that lasted for 20 minutes straight. When they attempted to locate the source, they found nothing. No explanation. Just an empty room and the lingering impression of profound loss. Visitors have reported being physically touched, shoved, and grabbed by unseen forces. Some claim they've seen the faces of children pressing against windows from the inside, windows that open onto empty rooms. The spirits here don't rest. They're trapped in an eternal moment of suffering, replaying their trauma again and again. 4. Laurel Hill Cemetery, where the dead refuse to sleep beneath the earth. Established in 1836, Laurel Hill is one of America's most beautiful cemeteries, rolling hills, majestic monuments, and centuries of Philadelphia's prominent families laid to rest. But beauty masks something dark. Visitors report encounters with spectral figures wandering between the graves, sometimes helpful, sometimes not. One woman was lost in the cemetery at dusk when she encountered a man in a Confederate uniform who pointed her toward the exit. When she turned to thank him, he had vanished. Another visitor was at their grandmother's grave when they felt a sudden, intense cold grip their wrist. Looking down, they saw the faint imprint of a hand, ghostly and ethereal, wrapped around their skin. It lasted only seconds before disappearing, but the sensation lingered for days. The most documented encounters occur near Section E, where victims of a 1918 influenza outbreak were hastily buried. Visitors report the overwhelming scent of decay, though the graves are centuries old. They hear whispers, dozens of whispers, all overlapping, speaking in languages no longer heard. One paranormal investigator captured a full-body apparition on film, a woman in 1920s attire, looking directly at the camera with an expression of profound sorrow. To this day, cemetery staff report encounters with spirits, unexplained cold spots, and the constant sensation of being followed through the cemetery's grounds. 5. Congress Hall, where the foundations of a nation were built, and where death still dwells. This historic building, completed in 1789, hosted some of America's greatest moments. George Washington walked these halls, but it was also a place of illness and death. Yellow fever, cholera, plague. Hundreds died within these walls when Philadelphia was struck by devastating epidemics. Visitors to Congress Hall report sudden, overwhelming sensations of dread in specific rooms. The temperature plummets without warning. Docents have reported seeing figures in period clothing vanish around corners, in the parlor where George Washington once stood. Visitors consistently report the same phenomenon, a woman in a long white nightgown, her face hidden, appearing at the window just before dissolving into mist. One tour guide experienced a chilling encounter while closing up the building for the night. She heard the unmistakable sound of heavy, labored breathing, the kind that comes from someone suffering through a devastating illness. She called out, but received no response. The breathing continued, echoing through the empty hallways. When she turned on all the lights, the sound stopped immediately. But she never returned to close the building alone. You've now journeyed through decrepit asylums, elegant mansions shrouded in despair, cemeteries where the restless dead wander, and historic halls where tragedy left its permanent mark. You've heard the whispers of the dead, felt the touch of unseen hands, and witnessed the very real paranormal activity that continues to plague Philadelphia's most haunted locations. So we ask you, would you dare to spend a single night in any of these places? Or will you keep the lights on and leave Philadelphia's ghosts to their eternal, restless wandering? Let us know in the comments which of these haunted locations terrified you the most. If these stories sent a chill down your spine and your heart is still racing, give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend brave enough to face the shadows. Subscribe to Ghostly Tales and hit that notification bell so you never miss another journey into the darkest corners of America's most haunted places. Until next time, sleep well, if you can.